do, we got to update all the socials here. Tell everybody we're going live.
Yep, and it should be popping up. So I'm going to pull up the comments. Where is everybody? See, Gummo's here. Okay, Darius. So yeah, I got the live comments popping up on the right.
All right, sweet.
These guys were here early. These are the diehards right here.
All right, good deal.
Yep.
It's got the fans.
Yep.
I know a couple of my friends said they were gonna come out, so
okay.
We'll see how many show up. Going live.
Yeah, and it takes a few, man. Like for everybody, for the notifications to roll in. I'm gonna pull it up. Okay, I see it. It says there's 4 on YouTube right now. Like I say, it takes a little bit for it to all.
Yeah, just let everybody get in there. Yeah. The outdoor conquest.
Okay, so it's showing me on Facebook, so it's rolling there.
Let's go.
Is this somebody you know right here, Steven?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, he's on Facebook, so you can see it's pulling up.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Dinner's coming, so I'll be in and out.
Yep. So this is Joe. He lived down in Florida. You know, I watch his stuff, and I'm gonna hopefully maybe hook up with him when I go down there during spring break and do some bass fishing and some of the. I was thinking about hopping around Disney and and trying some of those ponds for bass, but
hey,
see how
there
he
you
feels
go.
about that.
Do it. Let's see here.
There's no
You can see
picture.
us, right?
Okay.
We're seeing what we're seeing here.
Yeah, people are saying there's no picture, but
Yeah,
they
we
must
got
not see
to
the
get
banner.
them to start yelling at them.
So what we'll do is
and do whatever we got to do to not be awkward, right?
right. Yeah, exactly.
I like those girls on TikTok who I always pop up my feed. Oh, just reading the comments.
Yeah. I can't believe like so some of the stuff. Okay, hang on. We're gonna go here. We're gonna start there. We're gonna start there because talking about TikTok, I can't believe some of the stuff people get away with on that.
Oh yeah.
And you know what I've almost got banned for. You know,
what'd you almost get banned for?
I've gotten three strikes now, and it was for the one was literally showing off that elk mount.
Oh my!
That was the last one I got, but the other ones were the other one was a pheasant hunt. I had just a perfect shot on a rooster. You know what I mean? But the one it didn't red flag it. The other one it did. And there was something, it might have been like, so once they red flag you, it's like almost everything you upload, they look at real close, or the robots look at real close.
Okay.
So it's a pain, dude. And I know, like I told you, I can't believe Steve Cursor said no picture. Well, you got us now, buddy.
We're up.
I can't believe they haven't come after you yet, because some of your stuff is just, is awesome on there. I think it's awesome, but, people on TikTok, I mean, in some of the comments I get, just like I did a pike spearing one on Instagram, and I didn't even spear the pike. It was just a video, you know, holding the spear, and it was there kind of hanging out on the edge of the hole. And like people are commenting, why would you do this? Why? And I didn't even spear it. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
and they're in the comments coming after you.
Yeah. Oh, always. There's always.
Yeah, they're not too tough on the water though. Everybody's real nice, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Right.
I was like, trust me, you wouldn't do too hot if you came after me in the water.
A lot of those people, you wouldn't find them out there anyways. They probably don't get too far from the couch.
Yeah, that's right.
That's okay. The mics are live. Okay.
Oh, don't worry. We're not trying to hide anything.
Yeah. Scott Hill says, I get strikes for dead ducks. Guess if I showed my tits, they would have left it up. Exactly. That's exactly it, too.
My iguana hunting videos I tried to post on TikTok, they shot those right down. Because they were doing really good, too. Like, an hour, they had, like, I don't know. One had, like, 8,000 likes, and then they were like, boop, gone.
Yeah, it seems like if you get a good one like that, they take it down. But if it slowly keeps going, then you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, the spearfishing ones, I think I only took one. They only took one down. It was like one of the first pike I shot, but after that, it was like whatever. They've been super good, and they've been honestly taking. A lot of them got a lot more attention than I ever thought they would. So I was like, well, I guess this is my new spearfishing TikTok now.
Yeah, you don't have an account warning attached to your, because mine still says when I pull up my account, it says account warning.
I'm sure I do. I don't know.
Yeah. So I gotta like. They said if I get one more red flag, then my account's not deactivated, but it's whatever, limited. So here's Uper RD. This is a gentleman from up north, up in north of the bridge. He watches a lot of my stuff. Good dude.
What up, dude?
I haven't seen much of his stuff. I think he grooms like the snowmobile trails up there and stuff. So he's got some pretty cool videos of that. But he speared a really nice pike recently, and he put the video up. It was pretty big. I'd say high 30s.
Are we gonna have any more good ice to like do dark house spearing the rest of the year?
No.
Or is it pretty much done?
I think in some of the marinas you could maybe still get in. Caseville just had their shanty days up there, and guys were ice fishing. I'm assuming it was in the marinas because all along the break wall is wide open.
Yeah. And like I said, that's exactly why we're gonna try and get walleye and lake trout and shit like that for them on the Great Lakes and everything.
Yes.
Like, how are you not gonna let them do it? They're, the smallest window of opportunity, and
right.
You're not gonna allow it. It's just one of those things. We just got to get in there and talk to them, let them know, hey, we have interest, and they're like, oh, all right, let's put it through the ringer and see what happens, and then I'm sure we'll come out on the other side with a lot more opportunity for that.
So we got people showing up, coming and going. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna introduce you, John. You're the president of the Michigan Spearfishing Association. Is that correct?
Yes, I was recently given that title this last summer. Aaron Dahlman, who is it's Aaron Dahlman and Peter Rick were the ones who initially started it. Yep. And they did it for the purpose of this exact thing, was to get opportunities, expand opportunities for fish in the Great Lakes and then Michigan in general. And when it kind of came to a halt, they weren't having any success with it. And they were like, basically all we do now is just host an annual tournament, right? A little shindig where we get some donations and we'll have an event, right?
Right.
And so when I went to the NRC and got all this done, they were like, well, you did what we made the whole organization for, so congratulations. And they're both dentists and stuff, so they have busy lives. So they were like, we don't really do it. Like, we'll be here for you if you ever need anything, but like generally speaking, they gave me all the access to all the, everything they created. And so now I'm just kind of running it and spreading the word about spearfishing in Michigan.
So when did it all get started?
For me, it started in the later part of summer in 2018. My brother, they had the Michigan Spearfishing tournament, and my brother did it with his buddy James Stack, who came to the first DNR meeting with the fisheries division. And I seen him do it, and I was like, I love water. I was a lifeguard, swimmer, all around underwater enthusiast, if you will. And I was like, I want to do this. And so I told my brother, and they took me out to Muskegon, threw me on a pontoon boat. I had like this, surfer wetsuit, and I knew how to, had goggles and everything. They just gave me a spear gun, and I was like, all right, let's go. I was in the water as soon as I did it. I was like, yes, because it was just having to be a really good day. And I want to say it was the south side of the Muskegon jetty, where it was just, it was literally crystal clear. It was this 35-foot of viz, fish everywhere, big pike and catfish and drum, and it was just amazing. And I was like, I was hooked, dude, instantly hooked. I was like, okay, I'm done. And so that was literally how it started. I just went out, my brother got me into that, and I was like, all right, went online and started finding gear, and I bought it. And then that what was it? It was this time of year actually, and I was like, man, I want to figure out how to, like, why we can't shoot other fish with this. Why can't we shoot something that's good to eat? And that was literally all. That's all it took. But as soon as I did that, I emailed the NRC, and they're like, come up to a meeting. We'll give you 5 minutes. You can talk to us. And I was like, all right. Before you know it, I was in front of them and then the DNR, and then the whole thing. That's where it went.
And so have you got a lot of pushback for? I mean, I'm assuming there's a lot of people that are against it or not. I mean, I know outside of you know, like other anglers or anything like that, or guys pretty much on board with it too. They just
I'm mostly old timers, or some old timers had, I don't know, maybe they had a bad experience with them or something. But it was very, very easy just to have a discussion with them. Just be like, hey, you know, we're not doing anything different. You know, we're the same people, we're the same residents, we're the same fishermen that have always been here. We're just asking for a different way. And we just want some better fish to eat, honestly, because, you know, if anybody thinks that spearfishermen are going to, you know, single-handedly destroy the fishery, nobody was worried about us shooting all the carp or shooting all the drum or shooting all the catfish or any of those things. So I was like, why all of a sudden is it a worry with walleye or lake trout or anything else? I was like, as long as we're following the rules, you know, we have a shorter window. We have a shorter window, just like the dark house guys. It's a short window through the summer. You got what, 4 months? I haven't done it since August or maybe late September. I can't even remember. So it's like,
and collectively, you guys speared just shy of 800 in the state last year, 800 walleye.
So those are preliminary numbers. They're not final. Dr. Herbst over at the Fisheries Division, he's the aquatics regulatory, I don't know, manager. He's like the unit manager and regulatory affairs unit manager or something like that. He is the one who presented this to the to all the warm and cold water resource steering committees and all these other different groups. And he's going to have a final, you know, hard annual review of the program after, you know, later this month or early March, he said. So when I have those will be solidified numbers. I know some people were killing fish into September, so I expect those numbers will be higher. I expect closer to 1,000.
Okay.
But we'll, you know, he's going to try and finally get, one of the big problems we were having is a lot of people, they see a free license, they click it, and they get this huge number of people who are going to participate in spearfishing, right? We got this number, it's almost 5,000 people. But of those 5,000 people, only 157 of them actually got a fish. But the problem is there's 1,000 people ever since the day they got the license, never reported once whether they went, if they got any fish or anything. So our compliance numbers is what they look at, like, hey, how many people are going? How many people are complying with the report? So we know it's kind of skewed. So it's like not great, but that data is data that I can use to make my points in upcoming meetings and Natural Resource Commission, in front of the commission and everything, just to be like, hey, this is what we got for expansion. And I think that's going to help us get salmon and perch and shit like that later on.
That'd be wild.
To shoot a salmon, right?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Hang on, that thing's gonna be pulling you through the water.
Yeah. So yeah, in Scott Hill, I'll pull that back up. He said a limit's a limit, and that's right. And what I like about the idea of spearfishing is it's really a selective harvest. You know, you can dive down and if you're on them, and you can pick which ones you want to take. Essentially, I mean, you got to make the shot still, but.
Yep. I mean, I think that video we got down there is, I'm looking at a school of 20 smallmouth looking at me, and I'm just like waving at them and stuff, you know, I'm just like, hi little guys. And that's one of the things, you get in a good school of them, you can, if you want to take your time and look at them, you can 100% do that.
So let's do that. What I'm gonna do here quick while we're rolling, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share a video. Let's try to do this here. Screen share. So I'm going to share a video, and then I know you've got a couple that you want to share.
Yeah, for sure. I got all the videos, man. I'm surprised I'm the only person really doing this, to be honest.
It is Saturday, and Saturdays are for the...
Is it showing up on there?
Yep.
To the water, and he just got one. He literally just got one. Well, let's see it. Been in the water.
That's a freshwater drum or a sheephead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice drum. Good
No,
shot.
those don't eat bad, surprisingly enough. Back in the day when we were shooting them, because that was like the best eating fish you could, besides like a catfish.
Yeah. This spear gun you got here, I mean, it seems pretty cut and dry, right? It's just a couple elastic bands with one spear on there.
Yes, sir. Little trigger mechanism.
how many shots do you get with one spear? I mean, let's say you smash it into the rocks, but if you're just shooting fish, I mean, essentially, can you use one for a whole season? Just one dart?
I've never had to replace one yet, and I've blasted into rocks and everything. They're very durable. It's actually, surprisingly enough, it's not the rocks that usually bend your shaft. It's actually bigger fish usually.
Okay.
Like you shoot like a 60-pound amberjack or something like that, or a big cobia down in the salt water.
Yep.
That
was a nice shot.
Yeah, they just bend your shaft. If you go back, actually, here, this is the old spirit fingers.
That's what I wanted to ask you about that too. Right there.
Right there. That's all it takes, man. And what you don't see right here, you see this? I got reflective holographic minnows on my gun. So when I'm down there, you can kind of wave that, and that'll reflect, and that'll bring them right in too.
Okay.
Because
I always wonder what you were doing with your. I always wonder what you're doing with your fingers there, like you're squishing them together or whatever.
Yep, just spirit. Yeah, just like the skirt on a jig or a spinner bait or something like that. Just something that flows, or I don't know. It just works,
Yep.
We talked about lures, and some people will dangle like a willow blade from like a spinner bait off the front, and that'll kind of create some flash and some action for them to come into.
Cool. All right, one down.
But most of the time, if you just lay still on the bottom, they'll come right up to you and investigate at some point. But after you start shooting them, they don't like to stay around.
But initially, they don't see you as a threat, though.
Initially, they're nervous, right? They're like, "Oh, what's this thing coming at you?" And they kind of swim away. And then just like that, when you see him, he kind of swam off. And then when I give him fingers, he kind of was like, "Oh, I'll come check that out."
Well, that's a big.
Same kind of see. Yeah. Oh, dude, the sheephead are everywhere out there. Bowfin. Bowfin are super cool. You see that dorsal fin? That thing just shimmers so super cool underneath the water. It's very unique. A lot of guys give me shit because I don't shoot them as much, because a lot of people don't like them. But I don't know. Right. Maybe I should shoot them more. But that's back in the day. That's how Grandpa and my dad did it. They just it's garbage fish. You kill it. It kills other fish. You kill it. You throw it in the water. Swing and a miss.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. Oh, he turned on you right at the last.
Well, it was. You got the stupid GoPro stick. You're trying to get that second angle, and then you got the gun, and you're looking back and forth, and it's not a great system for shooting fish. Right. Looks good, but it's not a horribly effective strategy when it comes to actually getting them.
No, that's awesome, man. And we got a few clips we're gonna share with them. We'll grab a couple of questions here. So, Uper, he watched your vids. He says he'd be hooked to it also.
And you don't have to go spearfishing. A lot of people, dude, just get out there and go diving in Lake Superior. Go check out, Point Rock, White Rock over there in Marquette. Some of the most coolest things you'll find in the Great Lakes that most people have never seen, because they're just like, oh, I don't want to go diving. And I'm like, you don't have to go spearfishing. Just get out there and enjoy the fish. That's really why I love doing it, because, like, if you pull up that other video, you see, 12 walleye stacked right in front of you. You're not going to see that when you'll see them on your side imaging or your live scope, but you ain't gonna actually get to see and interact with those fish on the bottom, which is cool. This is the best part about spearfishing, really, because you're like, oh wow, and then you get to get a fish and it tastes good that you can actually eat, and whole like circle of life, it's a beautiful experience. Exactly.
Yep. And then Scott Hill's got a question just about the spear guns. Maybe we could dive into that in a few minutes here, Scott. We'll because you got a gun, and you can kind of break down some of the gear and stuff, from bare minimum to like the ultimate setup type of thing. So you got Michigan Fisherman, pretty wild footage. Him and I are actually going walleye fishing in the morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're gonna go jigging. He's never been jigging for walleye, so that should be interesting.
Supposed to be nice tomorrow? I know it was real nice today.
It's not going to be nice, but it's going to be doable.
All right, good.
It's going to be cold, but
gonna be a cold one.
Yup says I shot carp with a bow for a lot of years, never thought about spearfishing. You know, and I seen a video, I don't know if it was TikTok or what it was. Some dude was pike spearing and he actually shot one with his bow
Yeah.
in the dark house. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
I seen that same video. I hit him up on Instagram. I was like, hey, come on over here. We're gonna go spear some walleye.
Dude, that was
Wait,
awesome.
what? So I was like, yeah, yep, I totally seen that video though.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. So you and I were having a conversation the other day, if we can touch on it, about the walleye. Can we talk about that one?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you were talking about possibly legally being able to spear walleye in the upcoming future.
Yeah. So, what's his name? Jason. He's the president of the Dark House Spearing Angling Association. He just became president, kind of just like me. Whoever was running it before just kind of got out of it and handed it over to him. So I'm going to set up a meeting with the fisheries division. We're going to get some points together. We're going to talk with them. We're going to do an in-person meeting. And we're going to dive into that and see what they can make happen for us in 2025, because this order is temporary. It's a 3-year order. And when it's up, they're going to, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess reevaluate it. And if there is a taste for, I said, adding more species, adding more waters. The big one I want is more waters. We want everything on Lake Michigan, everything north of Grand Haven, and we want the rest of Lake Huron. We want at least half of Lake Superior. There seems to be some pushback for Superior, but we have a good standing with the Natural Resource Commission right now. And John Walters, who was our #1 fan on the commission back in the day, is back on the commission. So I believe we'll be able to get everything. And including that, I think there's no reason for the Dark House anglers, because it's all under that same fisheries order 219. So when we go in there and we are changing things up, one of the things we want to do is add the same 3 species on the Great Lakes for the Dark House guys and use the same reporting system that we have set in place for us to gather some data, get some taste for it, see how successful, how everything's rolling, and then give them, I assume, the same kind of, leeway, give them a 3-year period, see what they like, see how everybody goes about it. And then, hopefully, come 2028, 2030, something like that, they should have some kind of a full season for other game fish as well. Because it doesn't make any sense that you can just spear one pike. Like, what's your point? Like, why just pike?
Exactly. And so what bodies of water can we legally go underwater spearfishing in right now? Is it just Lake Huron and Michigan?
No, it's all waters. If you look at the regulations, it says in the top header, all year on all waters except like designated trout streams and trout lakes for the rough fish, right? Bow fishing, spear fishing, hand spear, whatever it is, that covers all that. Then you have a subsection for the Dark House anglers, right? You can shoot spear pike.
Yep.
And muskie, I think, through the ice. And then if you go down, then you have the underwater section for the game fish, right? So now we have the pike, the lake trout, and the walleye, and those are on waters south of the most southern pier, out of where the Grand River enters Lake Michigan. So from Grand Haven and down, and then from basically Thunder Bay all the way down to what is that? It's the St. Clair River, I think. Where the St. Clair River
that'd be Port Huron,
enters.
then,
yeah,
so
somewhere right in there.
Port Huron.
Yep. So that's those are the waters that you can shoot the game fish on.
So Lake St. Clair is out of the question for shooting
for the game fish. Yes, sir. Yep.
Which would be a good lake to get somehow added, because their walleye population, and they already allow perch spearing through the ice.
Yep.
And they have, although muskie season is kind of limited there, first Saturday in June to like sometime in December, the catch and keep shuts down, and they got a slot limit on those too.
Yep.
How big you can keep them, but there's a ton of walleye in there. I mean, you got to figure from the walleye fishery from Lake Huron through St. Clair River, down through Lake St. Clair, down Detroit River into Lake Erie. It's a mecca. It's a mecca breeding ground for walleye. I mean, when I was jigging the Detroit River the last few years, when you're belly snagging them, it only tells you how many walleye are underneath your boat. When you're belly snagging them with just a little hook, and you're in 40 foot of water, you can't see down there, but you think you got a giant on and you're pulling one up sideways. It's like, oh my God, dude, the bottom's got to be crawling with walleye.
The Ohio DNR estimates that there are over 200 million walleye over 2 years of age in Lake Erie alone.
Wow.
Like that's just like Erie. And then you send them all up into Lake Huron. I mean, you're talking a solid, close to 300 million fish population between that region. I mean, I'm just saying Saginaw Bay, like from the tip of your thumb down is probably close to, 250, 300 million walleye.
And it's crazy, and just such a small body of water. And then like Lake Huron, I know you and I were talking the other day when I was pike spearing in Caseville. In the marina, I was seeing more walleye swim through the hole than anything, and that has never happened in the decades I've been fishing that marina. Usually just fingerling perch come through, and some bluegill or whatever, and then your occasional pike. That's why I like pike spearing there. But I couldn't believe the amount of small male walleye that are just hanging out there, and obviously there's got to be bigger ones in there. But it blew my mind the amount that was actually in there. As opposed to the other fish.
So low. Yep, that's why the perch are not low, but they're not reaching maturity in the bay. A lot of those guys are saying, when you got a population of 7 to 10 million walleye in the bay, you can't get enough perch to get to maturity so that you can catch them in good size and good numbers. So that's why they just opened up the St. Clair River year round now for catch and keep 13 inches and above at 8 a day. So
Saginaw River,
Saginaw River. That's what I meant.
Saginaw River, which I haven't. I fished that a few times. I like ice fishing it, but you sort through a lot of the small walleye. But I guess I've been there at the season closer and the opener back when it used to open and close, and it's a phenomenal fishery, but it's just dirty water, So it's just something you got to deal with. Trying to. Fish through the dirtier water. I mean, you got to have the right setup, but that's one thing I like about St. Clair River, Detroit River. If you just pick up a Canadian license, one side of the river or the other is going to be perfect water.
Halfway clean. Yep.
Yeah. One side will be just chocolate milk. The other side is going to be pretty much perfect.
That was like, that reminds me of, what was it? Like AUGER. We went out there in May before Memorial Day. Water was like 48 degrees, something like that. And I was diving 25 feet trying to find these fly, and my hand would hit the ground before I could see it.
Yeah,
it's chocolate, man. I was like, man, this is sometimes you can get down and get underneath it. Usually there's a cloudy that will separate between the thermocline. There was nothing like that. It was just complete mud the whole way. And we went 3 times, I think, in about 2 weeks, and did not see a single fish. Everybody's out there, trolling and catching limits, and we're like, okay, they got to be here. And we're looking, and we're like, they're not here, or we just can't see them, or both.
That happened to me on Lake St. Clair this year. I went out there ice fishing right around Christmas time. There was enough ice to get out there, and I walked out about a half mile, and you couldn't see. The water was real cloudy, but I sent an underwater camera down, and it was gin clear down at the bottom of the lake. So I had to fish with the camera, or at least help locate some fish with the camera, because you couldn't see anything. It was in like 9 foot of water, and it was just the first couple feet were just real milky.
Those beautiful thermoclines though. I had a instance where the cold water, it was like a east wind, kind of northeast wind coming off Lake Huron, and was bringing in all this beautiful, clean, just freezing cold water from the main lake, but it was kind of coming into this harbor. And you could just see where the cold and the warm and the dirty and the clean it was like a wall. And those fish, were right in it. Right there. Like, that's where we want to be. They like it because you can't barely see them until they come out, and they can see out perfect. Just like looking into a well-lit house at night, you can see inside of it perfectly. You look out, you can't see anything. It's just that's a perfect little, camouflage for them. They can stay in there and see everything they need out, and then, nothing can see them. And, it makes perfect sense from a predatory standpoint why they would want to be in that, muddy water, that dirty water.
Well, that's like Lake St. Clair. So there's little to zero structure out there. There's a few spots where there's man-made structures, but it's just a big flat. So like it's loaded with muskie, but it's usually so clear. The water's usually so clear. So the only place for bait fish to hide is in the dirty water. And if you find the dirty water, you're going to find the bait fish, and the muskie are going to be really close to that, which is usually really close to the shipping channel. The shipping channel goes through there from the St. Clair River to the Detroit River. So in the middle of the lake, there's the channel, and that's the deepest spot of the lake. But a lot of guys, like the big trollers, the big charter boats, you'll find them trolling usually the Canadian side. Because actually Canada owns 2/3 of Lake St. Clair.
Yeah, the only muskie charter I went on was on the Canadian side out of Ontario.
Okay. Yep. Then like Scott says here, I troll the mud lines and always crush them.
Yep.
Which that's even walleye. That's the only spot for them fish to be able. I mean, granted, they'll be able to eat in other places, but depending on the time of year, if there's no weed beds grown up yet or anything like that, all they got is the dirty water. So that's where a lot of your game fish will be, is because that's where the bait fish are.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. You know, when we go spearfishing, if the water's too dirty, we just troll for them. We'll just catch them that way. We did it once. We caught 18 in about 2 hours trolling, and you know, in the last 2 days, I think we got 16 spearfishing. So like, if you think we can't catch them, like don't worry, we can.
Right.
Just I like being in the water more. That's all.
Yep. I'm gonna pull up another video now that you mentioned that. We're talking clear water and locating the fish here. So I think it is this one.
Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah.
Looks like walleye mixed in with smallmouth fat. What is that, a shipwreck?
Yeah, that's the Henry Court is what it's called. Henry Court. It's off. That's off the jetty in Muskegon there.
Okay.
And this is about I don't know, 25 feet down.
Are you just straight up snorkeling?
Yep. It's the only way you're allowed to do it.
Well, you can't do full blown oxygen tank or nothing.
They used to, but one of the things we were talking about was fair chase. You know, maintaining a fair chase kind of quota or whatever standard.
Yep.
And you know, it seemed like using rebreathers and scuba diving equipment was you know, could allow people to be, you know, I guess too effective or something. So it was a pretty easy trade, to be honest. Just to be like, yeah, you can't, because nobody was scuba diving anyways. It's too much gear. It's a bunch of crap. You know, it's already enough. It's always already enough. You know, I don't know, items to take with you, not to add a whole another setup of scuba gear. So it was just like, yeah, we'll take with you that.
You're legitimately holding your breath this whole time, or what do you got going on?
Yeah, I mean, I was on this dive, I was down for about 2 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I'm like, he's got to be using some type of one-way snorkel or something, you know, where you can, with a little breathing chamber or something, to be able to recatch your. So these walleye are all interested in you. Yep.
See, give them the old. This is Muskegon, so you're not allowed to harvest these. This was also back in like 2020.
Okay.
So that, you know, this wasn't even legal. So this is what you do. You just come down there and you see them and you just hang out with them. And like I said, you just lay on the bottom and that's them right up to you. Man. This was like, I don't know, my third dive probably.
Okay.
So they already were aware of my presence and everything. So they had no issue coming up to me after, you know, my, you know, third or fourth dive down. But yeah, you gotta hold your breath.
Right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I would see them. I tell you what, man, that part of Muskegon is loaded with walleye. When that gets legal, you're gonna see some big fish come out of that area. You are gonna see some big fish, because we were swimming out there a couple times in August, and man, they were just, I mean, stacked. I mean, you couldn't go down and not see one. You were looking everywhere, and they're big 10, 12 pounders just laying around. You're like, God bless America. So
I just think it's incredible you can hold your breath that long.
Yep. I was, you know, just comfort in the water, man. Just comfort in the water.
I mean, so what kind of training do you got to do for that? I mean, how do you build up to get to that point?
Believe it or not, I mean, it's you know, being able to tolerate the amount of CO2 in your lungs. Honestly. So
I mean, you're hanging out down there for 2 minutes. I mean, that's granted, you're in deeper water too, but yeah. Scott Hill is asking, I'm assuming you have a weight belt on?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
I broke that out. That's what you use right here, is to counteract the buoyancy of the wetsuit that you're going to be wearing. This is I think it's 11 pounds.
Okay.
That offsets my buoyancy, almost offsets my buoyancy. It keeps me buoyant at the surface, but I can stay on the bottom and be neutrally buoyant at depth.
Okay.
So that's one of those tools you got to use if you you want to be comfortable down there, because
So
you can't stay down there that long if you're fighting to stay on the bottom. Every second you're fighting, you're creating more of that CO2. The more CO2 makes you want to breathe, and that's
right.
how,
So how long does
you
the
gotta
average
rush to the
guy
surface.
stay down there? Like some of the beginners you've taken out, how long are they hanging out down there? 30
30,
seconds, 45?
30, 45 seconds are the best. You know, if you're a scuba diver and you have a little bit more training and familiarity with the water,
Right.
you know, generally they do a little bit better. But yeah, most of your guys you'll start usually about 30 seconds, and then usually by, you know, I don't know, dives or, you know, trip 3 or 4 or 5, you start getting into closer to that minute range.
So depending on the time of year, obviously you're going down deeper or shallower. Now, when they're stacking up on the reefs, because I know there's a lot of reefs around Lake Huron, Oak Point. Like for me, I hang out in Caseville during the summertime. So like Oak Point would be a reef out that way that I would fish, which are relatively shallow, but you would assume the guys troll the edges, the fish are hanging out on the drop-offs. But do you fish, like what's the most shallow water that you normally would spear in?
So yeah, so one of the rules we added too was you have to be fully submerged. So every part of your body and, you know, equipment has to be underwater. So that was to try and worry about you know, I don't know, targeting fish when they're spawning or something like that was kind of the thought. Just but I don't think I don't know, maybe 10 feet is probably the shallowest. Generally speaking, it's 15 to 25 feet. That's usually about everything I've ever dove. Maybe 35 some spots, but most of this stuff I'm just finding structure, you know, somewhere close that is just generally speaking holds fish, because you can get really bored swimming around looking at sand, which there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it. So weeds are great if you can find weeds. That's another, but generally speaking, weeds, you're not going to find anything super deep. Most of it's all, you know, under 30 feet in my opinion.
So now I know a few spots in Saginaw Bay area, Wildfowl Bay, that I grew up trolling, and it's a really weedy area. The fish are there early, so I don't know how diving. I mean, you'd have to kind of have like a really decent dry suit, but it's under 10 foot of water, and we troll through there with harnesses, crawler harnesses, and I mean you're constantly getting weeds off them, but the walleye are always stacked up in there.
Yeah. And what kind of weeds are they? They kind of like cabbage, or is it just like sandgrass, or? No,
it's more cabbage. It's not really sandgrass, because by summertime it's so thick in there you can't even troll through.
Does it like grow up to the surface, or? Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
It grows up. So end of spring, beginning of summer, where that water's still pretty cold. But they're there, you know, and I haven't trolled in there in probably 5 years, but I'm assuming the population in that area in that time of year is doubled, you know, just from what I'm used to trolling through there. You could probably drop down in there and spear a limit pretty quick. But again, you're talking.
They sleep in those weeds too. They sleep in those weeds too. They'll nuzzle right down on the bottom, and they'll just pass right out. And you can almost grab them if you want. That's one of those things, a little controversial, because your guy is spearing, like, I don't know, a defenseless fish or whatever. But I was like, I don't really see the issue with it. I shoot some of them that time. Sometimes I'll wake them up and give them a little scare or run for their money.
Right.
But you'll see them in there sleeping a lot, or they'll be chasing perch or little crappies or whatever minnows they got, hanging out in there. Where's the mutton snappers? What up, Charlie? That's Mr. Fish Stick Spearguns himself. He's actually making me. This is the gun he actually donated. That I shot everything with. He donated to the freshwater spearfishing nationals freshwater spearfishing tournament that I went to last year. Okay. And I got it at a silent auction, and I've been shooting everything with it. And I was down in Florida a couple weeks ago, and he brought me out and took me out, showed me like one of the best times of my life in freaking Florida. And now he's gonna make me a custom Michigan Spearfishing Association spear gun, same one just like this. And I'm gonna give this one away to a lucky subscriber or something like that. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, so that'll be. Don't tell them what. I mean, yeah, no secrets out. But yeah, this gun will be available at some point for a giveaway.
Nice.
So that's Charlie.
So there was a question.
So if you want a dope custom spear gun, that's your man right there, Charlie Fish Sticks.
Charlie Fish Sticks. Okay, I got you. Scott Hill says, I've always struggled in depth, not having a belt. So he's obviously dove before. So like a guy like me, I haven't snorkeled outside of.
Oh, does he mean like he means like get in depth when he doesn't have a weight belt? I understand. Yeah. That's where that weight belt comes in handy. It allows you to get that neutrally buoyant status or whatever. That'll help a lot with your breath hold too. If you're not working as hard, you can generally hold your breath a little bit longer.
We got a Nintendo 69. It's quite the name there, but I'm in Metro Detroit. Wish I had ice. Went golfing today, so at least he's getting outside.
There you go. We actually just got we got a golf simulator. So now me and my buddies are like every Thursday night we go over to his house and do a little virtual golf.
Oh, nice. It was funny. 7 years ago, yesterday, we actually played 18 holes at a course locally here. It showed up on my Facebook memory thing. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, literally shorts and a t-shirt. Yeah.
Not too bad.
So let's real quick, let's talk about your setup now. So like I asked you, you were saying you're just using a regular snorkel.
Yes.
I assume the whole time that because as long as you're down there, I figured you were using some type of oxygen tank or you had something fancy going on there.
I appreciate that, but no, that's just regular old holding your breath.
Which is crazy.
Yep. That's why you run, you swim, you got to do things to keep your cardiovascular system in shape because that's going to help a lot when it comes to, your oxygen, usage, if you will. If you're out of shape, it's going to be a lot harder to keep your breath and when you're down there, if that makes sense, because you're diving and swimming the whole time. If you don't have a boat, for example, and you swam out from the shore or you took a kayak, I mean, you're swimming hundreds and hundreds of yards.
Right.
And that's going to take a toll on your time in the water, I guess, right? You're kicking, you're getting tired, and the more tired you are, the harder it is to get down. Yeah, you're going to fatigue, right?
Fatigue real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that, the better shape you are and the better you're going to be when it comes to diving down there and getting on the fish. So that's, it's one of those things. Not that I didn't do it anyways, just to generally stay in shape or whatever, but it's just one of those things that when you get involved in it, you start to learn real quick, like, oh, there's some things that I can do to help me be more successful. And that's one of them for sure.
Yeah. So comparable to that would be, I went out to Colorado elk hunting, and now the lack of oxygen up in the mountain there, we were camping 10,000 feet. And I'm not saying I'm in the best shape, but I try to maintain decent, physical shape. Right. And by regularly exercising. And I tell you what, man, it's not physically tough, but it ends up being it because you run short of oxygen. Like you can, where you think like at home where you can walk 50, 100 yards and it's uphill. Let's say you're just going for a hike and it doesn't wipe you out over there. It's hard to make it over 50 yards,
I feel like I'm running.
I mean, it's just like you're always constantly trying to catch your breath. And if you don't catch your breath, I've almost lost it a couple times, and that's scary. And I'm just walking, and I'm like, holy cow, dude.
Like, dang. Charlie, no, there are no free dive instructors in the Metro Detroit area. I don't there's no one guy, his name's Fondusa. I think he runs Michigan free diving, but I don't know how often he holds classes or if he does, or I don't know. I really don't. So that's something Michigan needs to fix is free dive instructors. That'll teach you real quick. That's one of the things we should always talk about is safe diving, right? Because you're diving, you're holding your breath. You definitely want a buddy who knows how to rescue you if something were to happen. If you have a shallow water blackout or, I don't know, anything could happen, right? You get hit by a boat or whatever, right? You need somebody there that knows how to dive and help you out. And one of the things, that's why I went down to Florida and got free dive certified with Roy with Free Dive 305, is because I wanted to have like street cred, like, hey, if you take me out on a spearfishing trip, I'm going to know how to rescue you. I'm going to know how to be a safe diver and a safe gun handler and those kind of things. Right. And he was one of the best guys that, everybody talks about. I was like, yeah, he spearfishes. He's a great, free dive instructor. And I was like, I called him up and I was like, hey, can I come down and take your class? And if I do, will you take me spearfishing? And he was like, yeah, anybody who comes down from Michigan, I will absolutely give them priority to get them out in the water. And I was like, great. I think it was like 3 weeks or 3 months later, I was out down in Miami spearfishing and learned how to free dive and everything.
Nice.
No, I mean, me and Charlie, we were diving in a cave, doing some cave diving in Florida, and I mean, I touched the bottom in 80, 85 feet, and I've dove down 90 some feet on a line. So, gotta get that triple digit mark here, hopefully this summer.
That's crazy, and that's free diving. That's just that blows my mind. I mean, that's got to be. Granted, you got to keep your mind right, but you're going down. That's a long ways, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just pitch black, and I can't imagine.
I haven't dove that deep in the Great Lakes. In Miami, they got the what do they call it, the Gulf Stream, or the whatever one of those main water flows is out there, and that water, I mean, you can see 80, 100 feet.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, it's just, I mean, they call it the blue water. It's just crystal clear. It's just so clear, and you're just like, there's not a thing in the water. There's not anything. It's literally like the craziest feeling. You're just out there, and there's like you're in space or something. It's crazy. It's super cool.
He's got a shape. It's round. Oh shit. What about the bends at those depths? I don't know what that means. That's
not an issue for free divers, generally speaking. That's only when you're inhaling compressed oxygen at different atmospheres is when you have that.
Is that when you gotta like come up really slow?
Yeah, you have to decompress and let the nitrogen get out of your blood, out of your, or however. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm not a scuba diver, or I don't have any certs in that. I'm just a free diver. And that's one of the benefits also, is that you don't have to worry about any kind of sickness or traveling or anything like that. If you go free diving, you're safe to get on a plane. I know sometimes if you don't decompress right, they don't recommend you getting on a plane the next day after you've been free diving for an extended period of time, because I think you can get some. I've heard that. I don't quote me on that, but
okay.
Those are just issues that scuba divers have that you'll never have to worry about as a free diver, at least not to my knowledge.
So, okay, so let's say I wanted to get into spearfishing here in Michigan. I mean, I know nothing about it. I want to get into it, short of getting with somebody like yourself to go out and try it. I mean, what would I have to do as far as being, number one, legal to do it?
Okay.
Obviously you need a fishing license, but there's got to be something else that you need to, some type of permit or something like that. And then what would I need? Like, so you need a spear gun. Obviously you need some odds and ends. Can you walk us through like what a simple setup would be? Yep.
So you just get your just to be legal, just get your all species fishing license. That's one. The spearfishing license is only available online, right? So you have to go online and get that. That's where you will be entered into the pool of people who will have to fill out the reports every month. Then, I mean, I would go to a dive shop. Find your closest dive shop, Michigan Adventures or Huron Scuba or whoever you got in your area. They'll have wetsuits, snorkels, masks, booties, fins, all those kind of things. That would be a good place to start, right? Get a mask that fits you right and that's comfortable. Low volume is best if you have it. But like I said, it's not necessary if you're not diving deeper, which, like I said, Michigan, most of the time you're not. But that would be a good place to start. I would say go somewhere that has experienced divers. That will get you, I would say, a base up, because that water, I mean, like I said, into May and into June, depending on which, what part of Michigan you're going through. Like if you're up here, let's see, can you see my finger?
Yep.
If you're up here, that water gets, if you're up there, it's significantly colder, early or later into the summer, right? If I go, somewhere in south portion of Lake Michigan, that water is going to warm up first, and then up there it's going to, be 5 degrees colder. So you're going to want a wetsuit, right? Something to keep you warmer. I like gloves. Let me see here. I got some stuff for you. Here we go. So these are my booties right here. Just a little 2.5 mil. Just a little boots you put on that keep your feet warm, and then you do have different kind of thermal gloves. I like these. Just these little work gloves. They keep the zebra muscles from cutting up your hands too bad, and when you're handling the fish, it kind of gives you a little bit of protection.
Okay.
I like one with a hood myself to keep your head warm. That's a good starting point. Let's see what I got here. Then fins. I mean, you can do a basic setup. You can go to like Walmart if you want and get like, they got them little kits for like kids and adults or whatever. You can get fins there and a mask and a snorkel if you want. If you just want to get in the water and see if it's up for you. Yeah, here's mine right here. It's got a loading pad on it. This is called Polo Sub. Got this when I was down in Florida. It's open cell too, so it's exposed neoprene. And what you do is you have to lube up to get into these. So I take like a conditioner and I'll mix it with some warm water, and then I'll put this in it and I'll shake it around. And then when I put this on, that neoprene almost sticks right to your skin. And that soap allows you to, move comfortably and get kind of set in it, if you will. And then, let's see here. What else do I got? Got your snorkel. I like something with some color on it. That's going to help your buddies see you if you, swim away from each other. That color, when you look up, it helps a lot. It's not just a gray stick like this. So you can't barely see it. That orange really pops. I really like that. Here's my mask, for example. Just kind of a low volume, nice little silicone thing or skirt, I guess you could call it. So I don't know. That'll cover like the base. Oh, this puppy right here. That's what the
put it right in front of you.
All right.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
That's your diver down flag, right? That's your safety mechanism as a spearfisher right there. Notice the similarities right there. See?
Right. And there's just got to be, how close do you got to have that to you?
You gotta. I think the rule is you got to be within 100 feet of that diver down flag, and then boaters have to stay. I think it's 200 or 250 feet away from that. They can't operate a combustion engine, to my knowledge, within 100, 250 feet. I tell you what, I do not mind at all if somebody's close to me. I simply ask that you are going at a speed where you can correct course if you get too close. That's all.
Well, I run into that. Brian and I, we were kayak fishing Lake St. Clair and made the big mistake of going out there Saturday, Labor Day weekend.
Oh,
yeah.
Dangerous, man.
So we had a slow start, but man, the fishing picked up, and it's like at 11 o'clock, Lake St. Clair on a weekend, just stay off it. If you're a fisherman, just stay off it. But it was like 11 a.m. Like everybody's alarm goes off, and they decide, well, I'm getting on my boat and I'm going to go drive around. And it could be a flat, calm day, and just the amount of boat wake out there just turns into a washing machine. Like everything just like, it's not even windy, you know what I mean? And it makes it miserable. But you got to be extremely careful. Like people, they do not pay attention. And on the kayak, if I'm on the big lake, I'll throw the flag up, fairly visible, and even him, he wears when he's out there, he wears like a high vis vest too. Yeah. Just because he wants to be seen. But these people they're just ruthless and reckless.
Recreational boaters are a danger to everybody and themselves.
Yeah.
Mostly. Jet skiers are terrible. I've had nothing but bad experience with jet skiers. Just they get on that water and they don't think, hey, there's another person that uses it apparently, and they just they think those flags are like something to investigate. So they come up and they'll just ride up as fast as they can. So if you ever see me in the water, I don't care if you come close to me, just be able to correct, when you're near it. That's all I care about. Because like I said, I can dive, I can kind of swim around, just generally just stay 20, 30 feet away. That's more than enough I need. But the rules say, 200 feet. But, generally speaking, like I said, if as long as you're not being reckless and you can see the person or the persons that are in the water, should be fine. I never had any issue with it. So
yeah, that was the first and last time I actually fished Lake St. Clair on a weekend. I'll never do it again. It ain't worth it to me. I mean, I don't get much opportunity to fish all day anyways, so I would rather like sneak out before work in the morning. But that was that was a different experience.
I can imagine.
The amount of people out there is just, like I said, it's like an alarm goes off and they all decide it's go time and we're just gonna go start doing laps around the lake and then like not even pay attention to what's in front of them, you know.
Yeah.
I want to share a cool video here. I got a really cool clip of yours I want to share. I was going through them the other day and I got to laugh at this one because we're talking spearfishing, but you were actually
what am I doing?
Let's see which one.
I'm so curious.
I think it's this one. Oh, did we just?
Is it the one where I grabbed the bird?
No, it's this one. It's this one.
Oh yeah.
You were fishing rod on the water.
I tell you what, that was good fun.
Nice smallmouth.
Yeah, that's dirty too. That wasn't even clean. That was one of the biggest issues I had because you can't. The water, the resistance the water offers that rod, you can't feel it like you can when you're above it. So I was having a really hard time kind of getting them hooked because you can't really feel them when they hit it. So you have to just kind of watch that right little jig, and then you can, that's the best way to get them. But they won't eat. They will almost not eat ever when you're on the bottom with them. They will not touch anything you give them. They don't want anything to do with that. But you get on surface water and float around, they have no issues. And that's just a little crappie jig too. I wasn't using anything crazy.
So I'm not familiar with. I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of harbors in Michigan. I feel like I know that harbor.
I'm not telling you that one. Oh no, I can't tell you where that one is. That one's people I probably already know.
Well, I'm looking at it, and I'm
secret because that's my good spot right there.
Is it in the thumb or no?
Yeah, it's off the thumb if that makes sense. East side of the thumb.
Yeah, I know exactly where that's at.
Okay, but don't tell nobody.
No, I'm not. That's why I was waiting for you to say, but I know exactly because I could.
I'll take people, but man, that's one of my best spots. I love that spot so much.
No, that power plant. Yeah, no, I know exactly where you're at. I lake trout fish around there quite a bit. And did you see any walleye around there? Because the walleye hang out around them, outside of them.
If you look in the videos I shared right down below.
Yeah.
That is that middle video is this exact spot actually.
Okay.
We see walleye out there all the time.
Yeah, so I grew up in that area. And I used to go after school and cast off that breaker wall. All during the spring.
Yep. Tremendous amounts of walleye out there.
I've actually anchored off right at that wall.
Yep.
Where you're set up there.
Yep.
And cast it for walleye at night and caught easy limits right there.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say because they stack up. They love where that water flows over that top and it'll hit a break. There's a break and it hits mud on the bottom side. They love stacking up in there.
So here's a question that maybe you'll have an answer for. It'd be sweet if you did because I'd like to know too.
Lake St. Clair. Lake St. Clair all day.
Besides Lake St. Clair.
That's no. I've seen 2 pike. No muskies. The only muskies I've seen are in Lake St. Clair. They'll swim right up to you. They don't give a shit.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had one. I had a red horse sucker. I was off the 9-mile launch, and I had a red horse sucker hanging off my hip, and I'm swimming around, and that thing was like, I don't know, 5 feet away from me, looking at me like, "What you got on your hip there, bud?" And I have that, and I was like, "Oh."
Dude, that 9-mile launch is miserable the way it's set up. I mean, they need to have I don't mind walking, but when you're in the middle of going fishing and trying to get up, because when you're going, you're trying to get on the boat and go, right? Well,
right.
There's no such thing as getting on the boat and going when you launch out a 9-mile because you got to launch it and walk back and then walk back. They need a guy in a golf cart there to a
little trolley.
Yeah, I mean, I'd tip them a few bucks each way. Just to speed up the process because there's only 2 launch pads there anyways.
Yeah. I only fished there a handful of times, but that was my only muskie experience.
It's funny because everybody talks about muskie being the fish at 10,000 casts, and it's a big, like, it's a bite window thing.
Mm-hmm.
And some new research has come out that, that I'm not going to get into the whole story, but it's not 100% like you got to be fishing in the bite window. It's actually placing the bait, because they say this is going off of research of people that they tagged muskie, grew muskie up, put them in a controlled pond, and then tried catching them. And the end data basically says what happens is that bait, your lure, has to be in the perfect position, because they're opportunistic. They're not necessarily chasing.
Oh, okay.
They're more or less waiting for something to come in front of them, and then they're going to chase it and eat it. But just because, so there's this misconception that you're casting over a muskie's head and they're watching it 1,000 times go by, and then finally they decide to strike it. That's not the case, I guess. What it is that you have to put your bait in the perfect spot. They don't have to be in a particular mood. They're the apex predator, right?
They get big. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're always eating, but it's basically a matter of having fish in front of you that you're casting at in order to catch one. But it's actually bred. So it's bred into them, where people catch and release fish them. They found that muskie that carries on in generations and generations. Like, I don't know what it is about their memory, but they will be bred to eventually not eat rubber or fake lures. You know what I mean? Because of the amount of stress that they go through. When
they catch them?
So guys that troll for them, the fish get stressed out pretty bad. So they got the revival tanks and this and that. And everybody's got their own opinion as far as how to release them. I've seen videos, guys just torpedo throwing them because that gives them the biggest adrenaline rush and the most amount of water to their gills in a short period of time. That revives them the best. But then there's people that say you got to revive them in the tank, you got to keep them in the net, and there's a lot of theories to it all still, I think. But this was actual research. It was on a Facebook article. I saved it and I wanted to fully read it. But these people actually grew muskie.
That's a lot of time and effort to.
It is, and they spent,
a lot of fish.
They spent years trying to catch these muskie that they grew up and put in a pond, and they actually thought they had died, but they dove down and found that they were still living there. But it was just a matter of, it's not the pond they were fishing in wasn't very big, but it was a matter of putting that bait in his face at the right time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're saying that the catch and release fishing will, the offspring for however it happens, it's bred into them where they eventually won't eat artificial lures because of the stress that they're
they start to recognize it.
Which is wild, which makes them even harder to catch. Reeling with Ryan says 9 Mile launch is worse. He knows they run a golf cart when it's busy.
I'm
hoping the Crocker launch is done here soon. But then I heard when Crocker launch opens up, they're going to shut Harley Ensign down, which is South River Road, because they need to redo that.
Any launch with a rock pile on it too is always good for fishing. Create that structure.
Yeah. Would a pole spear work for walleye? I don't know what a pole spear is. So is he just talking like a throw through the ice spear?
Right here. No. So it's kind of like yours, right? I don't know if you can see it, but all it does on the backside here, you got a rubber band, and so you grab it like this, and you just, as you pull it back, right, you get all that tension on there, and you hold it, and you aim it at your target, and then you let it go, just like that, and it shoots it off. And they do work. I've shot a couple with them. They're just you got to be like within 5 feet of the fish. And they're very slow, and they're not terribly. I don't like them personally. I don't like holding them. They're uncomfortable, and I'm not very accurate with it. I have shot them, but I don't know. They do work. Yes, if you can get, especially when they're sleeping on the bottom or something, you can get it right up next to them and get them. But by far, the most effective way is the spear gun for sure.
So your spear gun?
Yeah,
your spear gun. Okay, so you. Is there different tiers? Like okay, so you got Remington, Benelli, you got Winchester. I mean, do you pay more money and you get a better spear gun, or are they all pretty much somewhat the same? Some are just a little bit nicer, depending on the bands you use?
You're definitely gonna get what you pay for in the spearfishing world. If you want to get a cheap aluminum one, Your trigger mechanisms are gonna fail faster. They're gonna be, less reliable. I'm already having a problem with the Mako one I had, the first one I ever bought. I've had it for that was in 2019, so I've had it for about 5 years now, almost 5 years, and now it barely works. Now I have to, it's goofy how they all work. So, I don't know, there's like Neptonics, Rife, and then there's like guys like Charlie who build them in their barns. They just kind of source out the parts and stuff that they like and the spear shafts that they like. And like bands and the Dyneema and that kind of stuff. And then you can get more custom, the more, colors and engravings and that kind of stuff you can get on them. But the wood ones, I tell you what, going back, if you're going to do that, this is a baseball bat is what it is. This thing can take a beating, right? It's not gonna get damaged like a aluminum barrel would on a cheaper one. So that's one of the benefits of it. But yeah, I mean, there's, it's just the quality of the materials that you're going to put into it. The more expensive they are, the better materials and generally speaking, longer than it lasts. But that also comes with the brand, if you will. Like Rife is really, really, really high quality, and maybe JBL is probably in there somewhere. But then if you start outsourcing, to bring the price down, you can get $100 gun. Sure, it'll probably work for a season or two. Could break at any second though.
Okay.
Those kind of things. A lot of people, these are called wishbones.
Yep.
This is what actually loads onto the physical shaft. You see these, they call them shark fins. That's where you load them on. They have ones that are metal. These are all, hand fitted and everything. You see that? They'll have ones that have like little screw on, almost like a bottle cap, if you will. That's just little points of failure that you can get and stuff like that. The best way to do it is to have, it's just like your archery setup. Just have as few, failure points as you can,
Mm-hmm.
So I like two bands. That's another good reason to do two bands, because what if one breaks?
Right. Okay.
Well, that's another way to do that. I don't like the single band because it can, if you break this or I don't know, you cut this with your knife or something and it breaks. You always have a second one, and that, won't ruin your trip.
So what's a quality spear gun run then? Like, okay, so we know a snorkel and a mask. I mean, you can dive into all that, but a snorkel and a mask and some fins, aren't real expensive, I guess. You can get up there, but what would a quality spear gun, like if I wanted to go buy one, what would you recommend? And
I would say a good price range for a decent gun is going to run you about $400.
Okay.
354 is a good window of a quality gun that'll last you, I would say, I don't know, 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
Like you said, then you can, if you want to get like a carbon one, you want to get, fancy wood or, I don't know, a variety of different options. Then yeah, you can easily spend, $2,000 or $2,500, or you want to get a roller gun. They call them rollers. Basically, they put two wheels at the end, and then it loads it has a spot here, and the band will come all the way up and then go around, and you load it down the front. And the point of that is, you see their power stroke ends right here, so you're missing half your gun. Half your gun is now gone, right? There's no power there. So what the roller does is it extends the power stroke all the way up to the front of the gun, so that spear shaft is getting the most power out of it, essentially. So you can get a roller gun. Roller guns are real nice, real accurate. Those you can pay anywhere from $600 to I don't know, $2,000, depending on the size and the materials that it's built with. So
what about a pole spear? Like a pole spear, that looked to be like the cheapest setup you could have. I mean, but again, you got to be close to the fish.
If you want success, get a spear gun. That's gonna do your best shot. That's gonna give you your best shot. It's easy to aim. You can shoot 10 feet or so.
Is it just point and shoot? I mean, you don't have a sight or nothing on there. It's just basically point and shoot.
Instinctive. Yep. Because it's just like it's just like a handgun almost. You're kind of just putting it up. I like to put my hand. You got to kind of put your hand on the back of it like this to keep it from recoiling. If you get it like this, sometimes you'll be doing that. that'll come back and hit you right in the mouth. I've done that once. And I was like, oh, okay, not doing that again. I felt like I got punched right in the face. You're like, oh, it's not the happiest feeling in the world. But yeah, it's just the point and shoot.
So overall, not too expensive. I mean, if you, in perspective, I mean, people would think, well, $400 is expensive, but okay, so that's the cost of a couple of rod reel combos and a handful of lures. Which of the lures you may lose on your first trip, anyways. And if you're talking means of musky fishing, I mean, $400 or $500, that's maybe 8-10 lures, and that's it.
Well, to clarify, we were not shooting muskies with spear guns.
No, but I'm just saying in general of cost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're comparing it to if you're comparing it to other styles of fishing, I mean, if you want, okay, if you're going trolling, you're going to have at least at a minimum 6 rod reel combos. I mean, that's close to $1,000 itself, you know?
Yeah, I would, I'm trying to like give myself a halfway, like I think I probably got just over $1,200-1,500 in gear that I have. I spent like my fins, I have, you know, cause I'm doing the free diving thing. I got these, you know, I don't know, 30-inch, you know, carbon fiber fins. So these, you know, just make my kick more efficient, and they're just more, I don't know, hydrodynamic, I guess. So, you know, you can spend anywhere from, I don't know, $150, $200 to anywhere upward of $600 for a good set of fins. So, you know, that's on you. If you want to get something fancy or whatever, you can do that. Or you could, you know, go get the most basic set from, you know, Meyer and jump in. You know, that's one of the nice things about it, or at least for the spearfishing. If you just want to be like, let's call it a fair weather spearfisherman. You just want to go in late July and August when the water's 75 degrees. You can just literally go. I mean, you seen that video I was in. I was just wearing shorts,
right,
and just swimming around. You know, if I wanted to take a spear gun with me and try and shoot a walleye or a drum or whatever, you can do that. So if you want to go real basic, you can get a $200 gun. You can get, you know, a mask, snorkel, and fins for, you know, probably, I don't know, $50, and then dive on in and maybe you can get a fish.
Right.
If you're comfortable in the water, you don't need that much.
Yeah, and it's not too much. You know, it's not crazy expensive, I guess. So Dylan was asking about spring smallies. I don't know if he was here. I don't know if he was here to watch this one, but I'm gonna give him a little glimpse of how you like to smallmouth fish.
Yeah, some of those videos you can see. I mean, those I'll tell you what, I have some of the hottest spots for smallmouth fishing. If you want to see some smallmouth, I'll show you some smallmouth.
Well, see, everybody is so focused on dude,
I can't hear you. You're breaking up there.
You got me now?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell happened. You got me now?
Yeah, I got you.
So everybody's like Lake St. Clair is the biggest, you know, that's the smallmouth lake, right? That's where everybody goes. Mm-hmm. It's world class. But there's spots on Lake Huron. Like I knew where you were at just by looking in the background of this video. And I know exactly, there's so many spots like this one on Lake Huron.
Oh yeah.
And
the smallmouth, the smallmouth in Lake Huron they outnumber every other fish I've ever seen 10-1. I mean, they're just literally everywhere. There's just so many of them.
I got a buddy that's a big walleye fisherman, and we were actually jigging St. Clair River last Monday, and you know, I told him, he's like, I don't know why you guys get into all that smallmouth, and I said, dude, it's just fun, right? I said, they're for pound, they're probably the hardest. Pound for pound, they're probably the hardest fighting fish in the Great Lakes. Close to like a freshwater drum or something like that. You know, they're comparable. But I said it's just fun to go out there and catch them because they are super aggressive, especially in the springtime. Super aggressive, and you could spend a day just catching them, but it's just a riot. And he's never done it. So I told him, I said, you're gonna see, because I did one of my fishing buddies. I took him last year, and okay, so that's what you're saying. When you're down there, they won't eat it.
No, they don't. They won't have anything to do with it. But you back off, they come right up.
I took him last year fishing, and because he had never really enjoyed smallmouth much either, and I took him, and we hammered him, man. I mean, just nonstop, 3-4 pounders consistently, and then 3 days later, he had a buddy out there fishing him. I'm like, I didn't think you were a smallmouth fisherman. He goes, oh man, it's so much fun.
Oh, I'm addicted now, he said.
Yeah, I said, I told you.
Yep. I was this exact spot actually last year. I'm sorry. There was 2 guys out there. They're smallmouth fishing, just like you were saying, and they're asking about what we're doing or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're shooting some walleye, blah blah blah. And he's like, well, where are the fish at? He actually found me on Instagram like that week or something like that, and I posted one of the videos from the actual encounter. And he was like, dude, he's like, as soon as you told us where those fish were, we started catching two times more fish. He's like, twice as many fish. He was like, we just like every other catch we started catching. He's like, that was so cool. Thanks for doing that for me, man. I was like, yeah, no, of course, no problem, man. Because they don't see them, you know. If I'm out there, I'm like, hey guys, believe it or not, I know you're not catching them, but they're right here.
And the thing with smallmouth is, like, I've literally gone on roadside ditches and caught them. You know what I mean? Up north between Burt and Mullet Lake, there was a spot up there I like going, and they'll be just hiding under. There'll be boulders and riprap, big concrete chunks.
Yep.
Right along in the culvert, and you could just pitch a lure under there, and they're hiding under there, and they'll just come out, eat it, and then try to take it back in. It's like you can't see them there though. You would never think there's big smallmouth there, but it's like, man, I had one of my best days. Actually caught a 6-pounder on Burt Lake last spring.
I tell you what, we were talking, me and a couple of my buddies, and we're like, I don't have any particular interest for making bass legal, but if it's made an opportunity, I won't turn it down. But I was telling my buddies, I was like, if spearfishing smallies is allowed, someone's gonna get a new state record probably first year, because you see some giants, man. Like, you're looking at fish, you're like, that thing's got to be 25 inches. It's got to be 8 or 9 pounds. Like, just giants, man. I'm like, wow, like these fish are huge. But that was one of those things. I'll tell you once we get out of this. I'll tell you where some of my hot walleyes. You probably already know them, being from that area. But I'll tell you some of those hot smallie spots, man. Like I said, you sit down there and they'll swarm you. I mean, it's literally 50, 60 fish, and you're like, this is cool.
There was a spot I grew up. So it'd be north of where that video was, where you were catching them smallies. It'd be up around a little bit towards the north, but I mean, it's literally every cast. You go there like Memorial Weekend, and you can walk out there, and it's like every cast, and it doesn't even matter what you're throwing at them. It's just the smallmouth are there, and they're so aggressive.
You know who? That's funny you say that, because I was showing Mark Zona one of those videos, and it was random. He was at Cabela's. I was at Cabela's getting some lures, and he was just standing in the middle of like the fishing area, and I was just like, what are you doing here? He's like, I don't know, he was just hanging out. And I showed him one of my videos of all of the smallmouths from around. He's like, where's that at? And I told him, he's like that's one of my secret favorite spots. And I think it's exactly where you're talking about.
It probably is.
Yeah, because he was telling me, and I went up there this year, and I was swimming around, and I was like, no wonder he likes this spot. There are freaking smallmouth everywhere.
I've only shared that spot with one person. It's Ryan. I don't know if he's still here, but we had a conversation about probably a year ago. I shared him that location, and he was eyeballing it, and he was Google Earthing it, and he's like, my God, you can see the smallmouth beds from the Google Earth. I'm like, dude, I told you, nobody fishes there. I have
not fished there. Hook and line for smallmouth. Yeah, I will absolutely be making that a trip this year.
Yeah.
Because
I'd love to go too. Like I say, I grew up fishing there. I grew up fishing that area, man. We used to go after school, and me and my buddies, and go up there and just hammer them. I camp up there in the summer, and I have yet to go there, because I think I want to take my kid there, because she enjoys fishing. Hey, thanks for stopping, Joe. So Ryan is still here. Yep, going there this spring. Ryan, I'm telling you, like, wait till like Memorial weekend, because the water up there, they'll start spawning a little later because of the colder water. But Memorial weekend, like when bass season opens, that's plenty early, and you're never going to be late that time of year. And it goes well in through June and into the summer, but they're just there. It's insane.
Their favorite, one of their favorite locations.
But I want to take my kid there because she likes going with me. But as far as young kids and taking them out, I like doing that, but it's hard to keep their interest sometimes. And my kid, unfortunately, gets motion sickness. So I think I can access that spot from a public park.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to try to get in there and get her out there, because I want to get her into fishing. But the thing is, if you're not catching fish, it's boring. It can be boring for kids, right?
Yeah.
It ain't like it used to be. They've got so much other things that can occupy their time. But when we grew up, I would go fishing with my dad, and we'd go off breaker walls and pier heads and stuff like that, and just cast the line and let it sit there until a fish was on. But that was what it was like growing up. We didn't have all this other stuff to preoccupy ourselves and have other things that we were interested in, and that's just what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I shared that spot with one person. Yeah, Ryan, and he hasn't gone there yet, so he may go there this spring. He says he's going, but we'll see. I met Zona on Burt Lake smallmouth fishing. Yeah, and that's another one. Like Zona doesn't like. I watched some of his up northern Michigan videos, and it's funny because I can tell the exact when he's on Burt Lake. I know the exact spots he's fishing. As I fish the same spot. But there's a few popular spots on Burt Lake, these bays where they go in to spawn and stuff, and he likes to follow them. He does the northern tour. He starts down south and then just keeps, because like Traverse Bay, I don't think they spawn up there until like July or June. Yeah, July, because the water's so cold. But that's another one that I would like to try to fish, is Grand Traverse Bay there.
I went there this summer and dove with my friend Jackie, and that was super cool. There's some cars and some random stuff on the bottom out there, like some old, I don't know how it got left out there, but we went out there and dove that, and talk about an amazing fishery. Yeah. Just seeing all those, the water is so clear and the fish are so plentiful. I mean, that's where the state record or world record drum's going to come from, because they are in there and they are big and thick, man. I was like, I mean, you're talking, Giants. 35 inches. Yeah, like real big.
I caught a 31 out of Lake Michigan.
Did you?
Yeah. Trolling for salmon.
Oh, there you go.
It hit a spoon. And I mean, this thing was the most ridiculous looking fish. Just crazy big. And when you salmon fish, you kind of know when you got a salmon on when you're trolling, you know what I mean? Because they just how hard they fight. Or if it's a Laker, you get a couple of head shakes and he floats to the top. But I'm like, man, I don't know what this is. It's similar like when you're trolling for walleye. When you got a walleye, if you got a catfish or a sheephead, it's usually fighting really hard, but this was weird. It was like, I don't know what I got, but once it came up, I'm like, holy cow. And it stayed deep all the way to the boat.
Did it?
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't come right up, but it fought the whole time. But once we got it in the net, I was like, holy cow, that's the biggest sheephead I've ever seen in my life. Like, no big accomplishment, but it was cool.
Yeah.
To land a master angler anyways.
Yep, that's for sure.
I pulled a good, I got a 22-inch out of Lake St. Clair smallmouth this year. It was good enough for the master angler patch, which is fairly easy to, what I want to do is I want to get a master angler walleye, and I think I'm going to be able to, have you ever jigged the Detroit River?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay. So that's where I'm going to try to get down there this year. In March.
Yeah.
And
March.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's when you're gonna that's your best opportunity to get one of them big girls,
Usually it's like my buddy Max Lasky Charters. He lives out by me, and he runs a charter out there, and he usually gets in the big ones just beginning of April. So he starts smashing those 10, 12 pounders. Yeah, I did get a master angler with my my Speargun though.
Nice.
Yep, that was 10. That was in that same spot that you seen right there.
It was.
Yep, that was second week of June or something like that. She came over. I was like, I didn't know how big she was, but I knew she was big, and I shot her, and I was like, "Oh, that's a big one." And we weighed it and measured it, and we're like, "That qualifies." We're like, "Oh, I'm throwing that in the book then."
Dude, that spot and at that pier head Memorial Weekend, we were salmon fishing because back when Lake Huron used to be really good salmon fishing, we actually trolled. We trolled salmon during the day, the morning, you know, in the evening. But me and my buddy went and anchored off right there and cast it for walleye. We were throwing reef runners at that steel wall on the other side and caught a 2-man limit of walleye. Like, I think we went right before the sun set. And as soon as the sun went down, it was almost every other cast. And there was, you know, 5-7 pounders that we pulled out of there.
Yep.
Did it 2 nights in a row.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yep. Scott Hill, he's getting out of here. Guy, great. Listen, guys, got to run. Thanks for stopping, Scott. Yoop says Zona loaded me up with choker hooks, strike king baits, signed hat, and also Zona's a cool dude. There was actually a rumor going around that he was like my stepdad or something. Somebody started a rumor, and he like comments on a lot of my social media stuff. Yeah. And my buddy started a rumor, and then actually I just rolled with it, and people were actually believing me. They're like, no way, Zona's your stepdad. And I'm like, well, I guess that's what I hear.
That's what I've been told. No, I won't say no.
I learned a lot just watching him. You know, he's and he's no, you know, he shows it all. Yeah. Once you like Lake St. Clair, there's no secret to catching the big smallies out there. It's springtime swim baits or summertime drop shot, and then.
Yep. I tell you what, when I watch them underneath the water, they react so well when the bait is moving, falling more particularly, falling super fast. Like 3/4, 1 ounce jig head, and you just send that thing to the bottom as fast as you can. They seem to love that to death.
Just triggers them.
Just something about that thing going for the bottom. It's just like they have to go for it, man. And I just one of the things I've learned by spearfishing and watching them is that when I find lures and stuff, and I'll throw them out there or whatever, if it gets to that bottom quick, they want it, man.
They want it.
I'm
gonna keep that in mind.
I was thinking like I want to take a jigging setup for the Detroit River and try casting that and just rip that thing about as fast as I can and just see what comes after it. Because I bet they would just go absolutely nuts for that.
Oh, I bet they would. I've caught a few smallies out there jigging for walleye. And I know people target them. A buddy of mine I work with, he goes down closer to Lake Erie Metro Park there and shoots across and does really good on the smallies.
Yep. I'm excited to get back.
I want to catch another sturgeon, man. I know they're getting them. Actually, guys been messaging me on Instagram about sturgeon fishing. Have you ever done that?
No, that's I'm trying to think here. I know some people who do. I did get an invite out this year. I couldn't make it happen. I think it was on the St. Clair River.
Yes.
And I haven't. I've never done it. I did hook one on the Detroit River when I was jigging for walleye, and but I lost it like 10 feet from the boat. I was so upset. I was like, oh no. But I've never done like the ice spearing thing either, or anything like that. I know a lot of people go to Black Lake and try that, but I've never.
I've never done that.
Yeah,
I know it's pretty popular.
I know. I was wondering. I was like, man, I wonder if they'd allow sturgeon spearing with the underwater gear. I wonder how many people would lose their shit if I did that.
Well, that Lake Winnebago in Wisconsin, my uncle actually lives on it.
Yeah, and
they have sturgeon spearing there.
Yeah. Yep.
They just had that. That's
like a big thing for them over there. Everybody's like, oh, sturgeon spearing's coming up.
Could you imagine sending a spear into a sturgeon? Like, you'd have to like strap into something to like hang on to it.
I've never done the dark house spearing, so I don't know. The closest I've ever done to that was for whitefish and burbot in Thunder Bay.
Okay.
You can hand spear those. So we were just on a boat with my buddy Andrew, and you just get a flashlight or headlamp or whatever, and you just kind of drive around. That's like, I don't know, 5 feet of water, and you'll just see them, and you just kind of cruise on up to them and stab them. But I can't imagine what it'd be like to stab a sturgeon and feel the power of that thing thrashing around trying to get rid of you. You either got to get away
have a
from
couple
that
guys.
spear, or you have to hold on strong, right? Because if that that metal shaft comes and smacks you in the face, you're gonna be out.
Oh, you'd have to have like 20-inch tines on it, to get through it and hold
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And then you'd have to, I mean, your average man ain't pulling up a 80-pound sturgeon on the end of a spear by himself. You know what I mean? I mean, you could, but standing over a giant spear hole,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. That would be impressive.
Yeah, it would. We'll see. We'll see what the Great Lakes have in store for spearfishing.
Yeah. So we'll be looking, and if anything comes about in the future, we'll have to get on and talk more about it. And hopefully this summer we can hook up and you can get me out and try it. I think I would like to if it works out. If not, I mean, we'll just have to see how the weather goes and schedules. So where do you normally go out of, like, AUGER up that way?
No, I usually go. Tawas was a really popular spot this year. There's a lot of fish in there. I almost exclusively go to Lake Huron. It's just I'm more familiar with it, and there's a lot more water that's available to spearfish. So for me, that was a pretty easy choice.
You ever go try it out around Charity Island?
We did try. That was one of the days I tried back in like mid-May, early May, and went out there. Ground's beautiful, crystal clear water. Didn't see a fish. Not a thing.
Really?
I was hoping maybe a lake trout. I even had my flasher out, trying to get some curious fish to come in. They did not see a single fish the entire day. So I was like, cool. I did hear some people talking about it and getting out there, but I did not see anybody have any kind of reasonable success out there, I guess you could say. So the spearfish up here in the UP. Oh, they don't like you guys up there in the UP. The UP does not like spearfishing, so we'll see what happens with that. But even though it didn't receive any significant harvest, actually, fun fact, and then the guys up there just absolutely hate it. So that's I don't know why. They literally think we're gonna shoot all the fish or something. Here's the report, right? That the DNR issued. If you see it here, let's see if I can do this.
There we go.
You see these two blue dots? Those are the only fish that were harvested on Lake here, or Lake in the UP on Lake Superior. That's all the effort that it got. Nobody. Like, literally nobody. And they're all like, I don't know, they all think we're going to run out to Standard Rock and shoot a bunch of giant lake trout or something. It's like the most ridiculous thing on the planet. But it's like, whatever,
Well, and that's the thing. It allows the opportunity to not harvest. I mean, anybody can. It's just like deer hunting. If people want to shoot whatever they want to shoot, they can. But when you have an opportunity, you may be able. Sure, you could shoot whatever one you want, but if you're spearing them, I mean, a lot of times you're eating them at the same time. You know what I mean? And who's gonna wanna eat a 35-inch lake trouter? You know what I mean? To be able to see them down there would be just the impressive part, and know that you could take them. But I
think it's I mean, they act like Lake Superior is some issue with lake trout populations or something. It's like, what are you talking about? There's 200 million freaking lake trout in Lake Superior. Like, are you worried about somebody shooting a couple fish that are a little bit maybe higher age class? Like, I don't know.
The thing is, what's he say? I'm right at St. Mary's River where it dumps into Lake Huron. Oh,
far east side of the UP. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Same. Just like I said, rough fish only up there. No game fish yet, but maybe 2025. Hopefully that'll change. So, still a good time to go. Just dive up there if you want. That's pretty water. Anywhere on Lake Superior is pretty water. Man.
Lake Superior is impressive.
I love it, dude. That's every time I've gone. Drummond Island. Yep. I went fishing up there before.
So Russell's got a comment, which we talked a little bit about Russell Caboose, they spear perch in winter on Lake St. Clair. And I was going to attempt that this year, but unfortunately, the one time I was able to get out there, the water was so milky the first couple feet, you couldn't see bottom. And that's the issue. Like, if you're going to spear on Lake St. Clair, you got to have somewhat clear conditions, you know?
Yep. And that's just another limiting factor on, you know, available effort, if you will. Like, oh, I can't just go out there and jig them up if I can't see them, or I can't just stick a flasher in the water and send a spear down. You know, you have to be able to physically see your fish and be able to harvest them, and that's a big factor. So, you know, that's just another contributing factor to, you know, that limits the harvest of those fish. Not to mention that as long as you're following the regs, it doesn't really matter.
Right. I had this guy comment on one of my videos the other day. He had said, you know, it's more fun to catch him with a hook and line than it is to spear him. It was a pike spear video. And I'm like, well, as if you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I get it, dude, but like what you think I'm sitting in a shack every day of the week all year round just spearing fish? No, it's like
sometimes I think is exactly what they think.
It's like we got a very limited window of ice fishing, and not to mention being able to cut a hole and spear through it. And not only is it an adrenaline rush catching them with a hook and line, but the adrenaline rush just throwing a spear down a hole and spearing one is tenfold of catching one.
It's just like anything. You see them, that initial, oh my God, there it is. Just like seeing a deer, you know, you're like, oh my God, it's working. Okay. Oh, now I gotta, you know, dip your spear in the water and not be too, you know, move too fast and get them, you know, scared off or whatever.
It sucks when you miss them too, or you spook them. I missed one.
Right.
I just wasn't ready and missed one. I tried doing a corner shot, you know, 8-ball corner pocket, and I totally blew it. And but he came in and I didn't have the spear ready, and it was tangled in my rope, but I'm trying to get it, you know, and
launched just one of those things.
Missed, but
not that big of a deal.
No.
I hope we can get some perch though. I really do see perch in our future too.
The pike population in the Saginaw Bay is, from everywhere I go, is just crazy. I mean, there's just massive amounts of pike.
Yeah. The biologist, I think we talked about this earlier. The biologist Jeff out of the Bay City department there, the little headquarters or whatever it is, the DNR office. I was talking to him and about the walleye spearing thing. Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's so funny that, you know, pike have kind of fallen off the radar as like a sport fish or eating fish, because he said, you know, 30, 40 years ago, that was the premier fish that most people harvested. That's why you see the two a day at 24 and above. That was based on the harvest or the effort that was being attributed to him back in the day. And he said, now it's a total flip. Now everybody wants the freaking walleye. But that's probably one of the reasons that you're seeing so many pike in the bay, is that, you know, they're not being harvested as much and their populations are doing real good.
They are. And I got to tell you, I mean, when it comes to pike and walleye, I'm taking pike over walleye. I mean, I've what?
I said the same thing. I was like, trying pike. I was like, man, I also want to say it has more flavor than the walleye.
People think I'm crazy, and even my wife. I cooked pike the last time I speared one. I cooked pike, and then the week later I cooked walleye because I went walleye fishing. I prepared it the same exact way. Prepared it exactly the same. Deep fried it exactly the same, and the pike was better. And I quote, she said, "This is the best fish you've ever cooked." And the pike. I'm like, I haven't done anything different than the walleye or perch or anything, but I think a lot of it is just the bad rap because all the bones. People don't want to take the extra minute to go around the Y bones, and it's not that hard. And granted, you're going to lose a little bit of meat because of the bone structure, right? Like you got to work around it. Nobody wants to eat fish that's just right full of bones. You know what I mean? But
so I have been doing the opposite. I fillet them up and cook them whole and pick the bones out afterwards. I think it tastes. I think it adds flavor. You cooking the bones in there, and it's so much easier to get the bones out once the flesh has been cooked and it falls apart.
Yep.
I was always told, oh, you don't eat fish with bones because you choke on the bones, and I was like, all right. I've never had an issue being able to
The only
sort
time
them
I
out.
ever had a fish bone stuck in my throat was from a perch.
Was it?
Yeah, I was younger. But one thing, so sucker, that's another one. I used to be a member of the
Yep.
Sportsman's Club up in the Thumb, and the way they would do it is they would fillet it like you would a normal fish, keep the skin on, scale it. It would be scaled, fillet it, but then they'd take a knife and they'd go about a 1/4 inch through the meat all the way down to the skin and then stop the whole length of the fillet and then deep fry it. And it flash fries all the bones for the most part. And then you just take the meat off, you just peel it off the skin, and deep fried sucker is right up there with one of the best I've ever had too. And people are like, "You're crazy," and I'm like, "No, I'm telling you, like, I was asking for more because it was that good." Everybody smokes them, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, salmon, lake trout, all that. Everybody smokes them, but pike is hands down. So you variety, he knows, hands down, pike is better eating, and I agree. I don't know what it is. But so I work at it. So I do the 5 fillet method, right? I cut the meat off the back. I cut the meat off the fillets off the tail. You ever see that method?
I don't think I have.
So you take the pike. Yeah. So you take it, you lay them right behind the head, go down to the spine and stop. Go all the way to the tail fin. And then you get a nice, that's your best piece right there. And then your 2 sides. So then you keep him on his belly, and then now you can see the Y bone because you took his back off. Now you can see the Y bone, and then you work your knife right on the outside of the Y bone and take both sides of his flanks off.
Okay.
And then once you do that, you got the 2 tail pieces that are left, but you got to start like right about at his butt, go down, because right past his butt, there's no bones in the tail.
Right.
So then you go from there right down to the end of the tail, and then you're done. So you basically you work around the Y bone. You don't cut the Y bone out. You take the meat away from the Y bone.
I think I have seen videos of something like that, but I've never.
It's super simple.
Attempted
and, it. Yeah, I've had a few bones here and there that get left over in there, but you can work them out once you get the meat off the fish. But I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I mean, and they're stinky bastards, but man, they're delicious. I caught one the other day. I was jigging Lake St. Clair for walleye, and a 28-inch pike or so, nailed my vertical jig, and I was like, man, if he was a little bit bigger, I'd keep him.
Yeah.
But just, you know, once they slime me up, it's all over. I mean, it's on you. It's on you for a while.
Yeah.
It's like the muskie, you know, just big, nasty, slimy bastards.
Or that's just from hanging out in the weeds or whatever. What that is that makes them smell so distinct.
I don't know, but some people can't stand it, and it doesn't bother me, but I notice it. It absorbs in the skin a little longer than anything else. But
there's a little extra flavor on you.
Yeah. But man, a good like 35, 37-inch pike. There's a lot of meat on one of them bastards.
Oh yeah. Yep. That 41-inch I got, I was like, man, I had, I don't know, 6 pounds of meat off of it or something. I was like, gosh, this is a excessive fish. I did keep its head though. Have you seen any of those like European style mounts for fish?
No.
Okay. So apparently you can do that, and it actually looks super cool.
Really?
I want to do that because I kept its head. I don't know anything about it, but they have them down in Florida. I noticed them. Hold up. Actually, engage Siri here. Does this work? Oh, crap.
Oh, I hear you.
There we go. Can you hear me still?
Yep.
Okay. Let me see here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, there we go. But in Florida, they have the skulls, like fish skulls, like barracuda or whatever, and they just, I don't know how they do it, but they can get a European style mount on a fish head. So I took the pike's head, and it has like a little cleft lip on it or something, and I'm gonna try and get it down to the bones and see if I can do like a cool European mount with that. Something cool.
Like that one?
Yeah. But fish style.
All right. All right, dude. I'm gonna I'd say we hop off here. We're losing quite a few people too. I think we're down about half of what we had at one time. Dude, we bleed them out. Dude, we bleed them out and throw them on the ice.
Yep.
What's he talking about, pike?
Yeah. How do you clip the gills or cut the throat there, and then you let the. That's one of the things you do when you're spearfishing too. As soon as you get that fish, give them 2 nice little slits right up in the gills somewhere. Let that blood get out, and then that always make sure that meat's nice and clean, and you'll get a better.
I think it's crazy. Like some of them guys that walleye fish, all you have to do is knife the gills, but you see pictures like half the head cut off, and I'm like, you ain't gotta dismember it or chop its head off to to bleed
shears,
it out.
A lot of people that use shears, and they'll just get them right there at that little low point and just.
Yeah, my buddy Rich, he showed me. My buddy Rich, he's real particular. I ain't seen him on here, but him and I have been fishing together a couple of years now. I actually met him out ice fishing, and we've become pretty good friends. But he's got a little knife right in his live well, and he just slits the gills a little bit, and but he was laughing. He's like, these guys, they cut the heads halfway off, and he's like, you ain't got to do that. And I try to remember to bleed the walleye, but I like saving a couple for a picture when I'm done fishing. So
yeah, you want them to look nice too.
Yeah, I don't want their head like hanging half off, and that's what you see in the pictures. I'm like, oh, geez.
Yep, it's a real thing. But yeah, as long as
I usually just
eat good.
Yeah, I just bleed them at the end, throw them all in the net, cut them, and throw them in the net, let them bleed out in the water, and bring them back in. And
always good decisions.
All right, buddy. It was good talking to you. Do you got anything else you want to share? I had them couple clips. I think they're pretty much similar to the ones you had down here, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Just if you want to do it, just get your dye flag and
and you got to go online and get a permit.
Go on there, get that, and then if you're up, Michigan Spearfishing Association or Michigan Freedivers and Spearos, a couple of groups if you want to get in them. You can join them.
You got Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, so you can check them out on there. And I'm sure you keep up to date all that stuff on there as well.
Yep, and then we'll just run around and people, like I said, just put it in the group. Hey, I want to go spearfishing, or I'm new, and usually there's more than a couple people that are willing to either meet up with you or answer any questions, or just doing this kind of stuff. Hopefully, I gave enough information out about the gear and get everybody.
I mean, it seems pretty cut and dry. I mean, like you're saying, you don't need the top of the line stuff. You can get fins and a snorkel and a mask, whatever you choose to get, and then a spear. You're saying, a quality spear is your best option. Spend a few $100, get a quality spear, but outside of that, like you're saying, you could. The opportunities of the walleye are everywhere. There's no question. Saginaw Bay, I mean, it doesn't matter where you're at, what time of year, you're going to dive down and probably see a walleye somewhere. Unless it's
Well, I was getting a couple of guys at Tawas Bay 2 days ago that were like, man, I must not have been putting in enough effort because I wasn't finding them. And I was like, that's weird, because every time I went out there, I was, seeing bunches of them. So, and they were like, I guess I just need to work it out. But
and knowing the spots would help too. And that's the thing with me is like knowing some of these lakes, like Lake Huron and the shorelines and the reefs and stuff like that, knowing where to go to put yourself in the best position to try to get one,
Right. 100%.
You Brady's a good guy, man. He watches a lot of my stuff and he's always commenting, but yeah, he had some kids out hunting this year. That was pretty cool. Some of his videos, you have to check them out.
Hell yeah. I was going to say, I'll for sure be looking into some of these commenters here.
Right, man. Appreciate you taking the time, getting on, and maybe we can work something out this summer. Yeah,
the Outdoors Conquest will be underwater spearfishing here this summer.
Yeah, that would be that would be crazy. You make me TikTok famous like your videos are.
We'll record it too. I'll show the struggle of what it's really like to get out for your first time. You're like, oh man.
Well, I can't. Like I say, I don't frequently exercise, but I try to maintain a healthy life for the most part, and I hit the stationary bike and do my exercise, stuff like that. But I couldn't imagine having to hold my breath for that long. Like, you're down there 2 minutes. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. I thought for sure you had an oxygen tank on.
Nope, just fill up the lungs.
Snuck a mini one in your pouch. I had just a mini one in your pouch or something.
They do have those. I don't know shit about them, so I'm like, I just tell everyone, I'm like, dude, just learn to hold your breath, man. Like, it ain't worth it if you get sick, or something weird happens because
right.
you're using a little device and you're not listening to the rules that scuba divers use, because you are scuba diving at that point. It doesn't matter how big the tank is. If you go down 30 feet and you start breathing in air at that depth and you come up without decompressing, to my understanding, that's how you get the bends or some kind of similar,
Right.
something like that. So you just got to be careful the kind of gear you get. I just say hold your breath because it's easy.
Right.
Well, as easy as it can be.
Well, and
Get
then
in the
like
pool.
you say, practice.
Get in the pool and swim across the pool. Hold your breath a little bit there. That's that'll get you going.
Yeah, I always mess around with my kid when we're at a pool on spring break or something. We always have a contest who can go the furthest underwater.
Exactly.
I have to build up to it a little bit.
A good rule is is a down and back. You can go all the way down 25 yards and then come back on a single breath. That's about a 75-foot free dive.
So if you can stay under, I mean, would I be in pretty good position to be able to spearfish if I could hold it for about a minute? Let's just say on a normal day, normal depth that you'd be fishing. If I could hold my breath a minute.
Yeah, if you can get it 30, 35, 45 seconds, that's diveable as far as or that's doable as far as getting a fish. That's more than enough time to get a fish. Especially if you find a nice school of them.
Once you spear them, you could swim up and surface and regroup yourself, right? Because you got them attached to the spear gun and in your tether, so you should be good, I would think.
Yep. Just get to the surface, and then the gun will float. They're balanced like that to float underneath the water once the spear's out of them. So you shoot it, you abandon the gun, and the first thing I go for is the line. And once you got the line, you hang on to the fish and just pull them up with you and make a good shot. They stone them. If not, you just got to wrestle them in a little bit. Like that pike. He gave it a good run when I shot. I was like, oh, God, don't break my spear.
That'd be awesome, though.
No. My buddy Riley, the same day, he shot the first one. I think it was like a 38-incher or something like that. And he thought he missed because it kind of came up out of the weeds on like an angle, and he shot it kind of a little back in the tail. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know that he hit it. So he kind of was like, oh, he just relaxed, and the fish took off. Pulled his spear gun right out of his hand. I got all on video too, and you see his gun, just off.
Oh no!
He calls over. He's like, "John, help! I lost my gun." I'm like, "What do you mean you lost your gun?" And he's like, "I jerked it out of my hands." And I was like, "Crap!" And we're literally trying to figure out a method of how we're gonna do it, and literally look over and we see it float right up on the surface. And so he just took off swimming as fast as we could. Got over there, and there it was. The fish came up to the surface. The gun was up there. We put a second shot in it, and we had a fish.
That's awesome.
So we're like, oh man, but it's a good time. That's all. Oh, starting your gun here soon, my man. Exciting.
Hopefully, he'll have it ready for you this season.
Oh, I'm sure he will. I tell you what, his guns are accurate too. I don't know. You see those shots, man. Once you get dialed in with it, man, you're you're hitting, nickel size spots on these fish when you're figuring it out. It's get real precise.
That's good, though. That
was my best part about this gun. As I started shooting it, I was like, man, this thing's got range and accuracy. I was like, wow, I really like this gun. I was shooting some fish out 15, 16 feet, that's real far if you're spearfishing. But I probably shot 3 fish, I think, that were 15 feet or so.
Yeah, there was a few in your videos I watched, and they were out of sight. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow.
Yep. That's one of those things too.
Shot.
Yeah, you gotta be careful though. I haven't had any issues with it. I've been able to get their sizes down pretty good. But that's one of the things you got to be careful too. Is if you see something that's close size, you're like, oh, it kind of looks like it. It's just probably just need to let it go, especially if it's at distance. Maybe you can get it close, but it's just kind of one of those things when you're, when you grow up hook and line fishing, you've had enough experience handling fish, you can look at a fish and just be like, yep, that's a 17 or 17 and a half or 18. Or you could generally speaking guess its size class within an inch or so. Same kind of thing on water. Yeah, but you're gonna get a little bit of magnification from your mask because it does have that tempered glass or whatever it is. Does enhance your the magnification of the fish. It's gonna make it look a little bit bigger. So it's one of those things. If you ever have a doubt about the size of the fish, or if you're questioning the size of the fish, you probably shouldn't be shooting it. So that's like one of those things. But I did shoot one in Saginaw Bay area, and because I was like, okay, size limit is 13. I'm gonna try and get as close to like a 14, 15-inch fish as I could. And I shot one, and I was like, little thing. I was like, man, this thing's an old pencil.
Right.
And it was 14 1/4. It was about what I thought it would be. So I was like, pretty accurate with that. So I was pretty happy about that. But most of the fish I seen, it was like very clear. Either they weren't legal or they were. It was like almost never did I question the size of the fish when I was
even hook and lining them. I mean, if it's a question, I just toss them back. It's not even, because a lot of times I don't take a bump board or anything with me, especially ice fishing. It's like a lot of times ice fishing, we're not catching them unless you're on the Saginaw River. You'll catch a lot of sublegals, but if you're on the Saginaw Bay, 98% of the fish are legal. Yep.
And that's one of the good things about fishing in Saginaw Bay. Lots of fish in there, plenty size. We did see some schools though of like, I don't know, 50, 60 little guys, just little 12 inches or something like that swimming around a wall, and you just get to watch them. You're like, oh, look at all these little suckers. It's always nice just to be like, all right, well, there's the future. Exactly. There they are. Got the perch hanging in there with them too.
Them big perch like hanging out with the walleye. I noticed when we catch them to the ice, the only time you catch really big perch is when you're fishing water that has walleye in it.
Yep.
It's when I've caught my best perch out there anyways.
I've never really targeted perch. I did some this time last year up at Higgins Lake, I think it was.
Okay.
But most of the fish we were catching were, I don't know, 8, 9 inches. I've never caught like a big jumbo perch, like one of them Great Lakes.
They got them in the Saginaw Bay, man. I'm telling you, and when you're out there walleye fishing, I always seem to catch a few.
Yeah.
They're there. It's just they're not there in numbers, A couple will come in and you'll pick 1 or 2 off, and then that'll be it,
Yeah. Those are fun though. And
that's you
can get the spear out and you're just like,
yeah. Oh hell yeah. And then, I mean, when they're there, they're aggressive.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I gotta hop off here. So appreciate the time. And I'll be talking to you. Maybe even this spring we can get together and jig up some walleye.
Yes, sir. I'll be out. Like I said, I go out on the river at least, I don't know, 2-3 times a week when it's hot and heavy out there in May. So
maybe we go dive, look for some muskie on Lake St. Clair. I'd like to do that. I'd like to learn more about muskie. I think that'd be a good way to do it.
Yeah, 100%. You're what a lot of people are like, hey, come dive over here and tell me what you're seeing. That's one of the things. I get a lot of walleye guys, like tournament anglers. They'll follow me and they'll be like, dude, I learned so much about the fish and what they're doing from watching your videos. And I was like, thanks, bro.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. It's, if you want to become a better fisherman, probably should do spearfishing too.
Yeah. Get in their world a little bit and just hang out with them.
Yep. 100%. All right, bro.
John, appreciate the time, man.
Of course, brother.
Let's do this again sometime. And I'm going fishing in the morning, so I'll let you know how it goes.
All right, sounds good. Wait for the pictures.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Have a good one.